Every 4 years, billions of people stop everything to watch a tournament that most Americans still don't fully understand. Not a Super Bowl, not the Olympics, the World Cup. Here's the wild part. There's no other sporting event on Earth that comes close to this. Not in size, not in emotion, not in stakes. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why. Let's start with something that sounds small but changes everything. Time. The World Cup only happens once every 4 years. That's it. One shot. Compare that to basically every American sport you know. The NFL has a Super Bowl every single year. The NBA Finals? Every year. Even the Olympics show up every 2 years if you count summer and winter combined. But football players? They wait 4 years for one tournament. Some athletes peak, get injured, or retire before they ever get a real shot at it again. Imagine training your whole life for one event and only getting 2 or 3 chances to win it. That's the emotional weight sitting underneath every single game. Now here's where it gets even crazier. The World Cup isn't just a tournament, it's a 4-year countdown for an entire planet. Most leagues operate at the club level. Your favorite team plays in a city, in a league, against other clubs. But the World Cup flips that completely. Instead of clubs, it's countries. You're not playing for your paycheck anymore. You're playing for your whole nation. Think about what that actually means. A player from Brazil and a player from Argentina might play on the same club team every single week. Total teammates sharing a locker room. But the moment the World Cup starts, they become rivals, representing entire countries with entire histories behind them. That's not just sports anymore, that's identity. And that leads to the next big difference: scale. Real, almost unbelievable scale. The Super Bowl is massive in America, sure, but the World Cup final regularly pulls in over 1 billion viewers worldwide. Not 1 billion total across the tournament, 1 billion watching one single game. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 1 out of every 8 humans alive tuning in to the same 90 minutes. No other sporting event does that. Not close. Why? Because football isn't just popular in one country, it's the most played, most watched sport on the planet. Almost every country has a national team. Almost every country has hope. In once every 4 years, all of that hope collides into one tournament. Now let's talk about something beginners always miss: how teams even get there. Unlike a lot of American sports where the season just happens and the playoffs follow, World Cup teams have to qualify over almost 2 full years before the tournament even starts. Imagine the NFL having a separate 2-year competition just to decide who's allowed to play in the playoffs. That's basically what international football does. Hundreds of countries enter, only 48 make it to the actual World Cup. That number used to be 32, but it's expanding for the 2026 tournament hosted by Mexico, Canada, and the US. More countries, more chaos, more stories. And here's a fact that surprises a lot of new fans. Many countries get eliminated from World Cup qualifying without American sports fans ever even knowing it happened. There's heartbreak happening on a global scale every single qualifying cycle, completely under the radar in the US. So by the time the actual tournament starts, every team on that field has already survived a brutal, multi-year fight just to be there. That's why the intensity feels different from minute 1. Now here's something that makes the World Cup completely unlike a league season. There are no easy games and no long seasons to recover from a bad week. In a typical league, if your team loses one game, it's not a big deal. There's 16 more games, or 82 more games, or whatever the sport allows. Plenty of time to bounce back. The World Cup doesn't work like that. It's a short tournament. Lose at the wrong moment, and your country's 4-year wait is over in a single afternoon. There's no next week. There's no next month. There's only 4 years from now, if you're lucky enough to qualify again. That single elimination pressure changes how the games are played. Teams aren't just trying to win, they're trying to survive. And speaking of surviving, let's talk about the format, because this is where a lot of beginners get confused. The tournament starts with group stages. Teams get split into small groups, and everyone plays a few matches just to see who deserves to move forward. Think of it like a mini round robin before the real fight begins. After that, it becomes single elimination. Win, you continue. Lose, you go home. No second chances, no rematches, no "we'll get 'em next time." This format is part of why World Cup moments hit so much harder than regular season moments. Every match could be the last time you ever see that team, that player, or that generation compete on this stage. Here's something most people don't think about. Careers are basically measured by World Cups, not by individual seasons. Fans don't say a legendary player had a great decade. They say he won the '94 Cup or the 2014 Cup. That's how deeply this tournament timestamps history. Now let's bring it back to something personal. Why does this tournament create emotion that other sports rarely touch? Because most sports fans support a team they chose. Maybe your dad liked them, maybe you liked their colors as a kid. But national teams aren't chosen. You're born into them. Whether you like it or not, when your country plays, something primal kicks in. That's why you'll see grown adults crying after a loss. That's why entire cities shut down to watch one game. That's why streets filled with flags, paint, and chants that have nothing to do with marketing and everything to do with identity. No league game produces that kind of reaction because no league game represents an entire country's pride on a global stage. So let's pull this all together. The World Cup is rare because it only happens once every 4 years. It's massive because it represents countries, not clubs. It's intense because qualification is brutal and elimination is instant. And it's emotional because the team you're cheering for chose you before you ever chose it. That combination doesn't exist anywhere else in sports. Here's the final thought worth remembering. Most tournaments test how good a team is in a season. The World Cup tests how a nation can perform under pressure once every 4 years for 90 minutes at a time. That's not just football. That's the highest stakes sports has to offer. If this helped the World Cup finally make sense, subscribe, because by the time the 2026 tournament kicks off, you're going to understand every single moment better than most fans around you.